Well, Arda Guler to Arsenal interest has been really hinted on by the Sport coming in from Spain. And as I told you, that after this international break, all the stories concerning the transfers are really going to be back. Very many players are going to be linked to your special teams, and we'll be here to obviously break it down and obviously get you to where you guys want to be. Smash the like button, comment and share. If you're watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Rokani David is my name, and this is the Rokani Media Football. 21st November it is. And we are left with how many days? 9 days to obviously sum up the month of November and obviously tackle the last month of the year. We are going to be talking about Amadou Onana, and then lastly we'll have a hint coming in from Olympique Lyonnais from France, as it's not all good news for them after they've been told to obviously rectify their financial fair play. If at all they don't, they are most likely going to lose their grip onto their position into League One. Now, we are powered by Mono Gadgets, dealers in brand new phones and brand new laptops. Even if you want a used phone and a used laptop, call them on +256 70 99 88 665. That is the number. Call them or WhatsApp them. They also have affordable smartwatches. They've just gone ahead, obviously, let me know about this, and just continue to obviously go there and do the needful into the mix. So that is Mono Gadgets for you, and if at all you continue doing that, the rest is really gonna be history. So that is Mono Gadgets for you. Now, Arda Guler is one of those players that has been linked to Arsenal for a very long time. 2 summers back, Arsenal was really chasing for this signature, and they failed to get Arda Guler, and we all know the story. He was going to Barcelona. Real Madrid hijacked the deal with a call from Luka Modric. Luka Modric called Arda Guler and told him, please, when I leave next season, he called him in the summer of 2023 and told him that when I leave, you're obviously going to come up and obviously put on that shirt number 10. And Arda Guler was like, I'm not going to be waiting for Barcelona, because that Barcelona had obviously told Arda Guler that we can sign you now, but you're going to leave you on Fenerbahce for 1 year because we cannot register you to play for the side of Barcelona because of the financial fair play rules. Now, Arda Guler was like, chance comes once, let me go to Real Madrid. And when he came to Real Madrid, he never really went ahead, obviously, get ample playing time. That's why you see to it that at Sport is telling us that Arsenal are interested in a move for a 19-year-old Arda Guler who has struggled for minutes since joining Real Madrid. Now, Arsenal are pushing to sign Arda Guler in the January transfer window, by the way. That's what he should know, because he's struggling to get minutes at the side of Real Madrid. And when he's playing for the Turkish national team, you saw him during the Euros. You've gone ahead to see him on several occasions. He really puts up a show. We all admit he really puts up a show, and he's really one of those people that has gone ahead, obviously, put in a very big exhibition at the Turkish national team, even in these UEFA Nations League games. He has come up and obviously put in a very huge show for the side of Turkey. Now, the big question is, does Arsenal need Arda Guler? I told you, one of the positions that Arsenal need to fix is that position of Bukayo Saka. He is the only player that they have that can play with the left foot onto that right attacking side of the midfield, or the right forward position on the pitch. Now, even in the summer, I've always come out and told you that there are 2 players that Arsenal have to obviously look for. A player to compete with Martin Odegaard and a player to compete with Bukayo Saka. So those are the 2 players that I think are more even imminent at Arsenal than any other player. I've gone ahead to see very many people at Arsenal talking about signing a centre forward, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, guys, let's face the reality. How many players at Arsenal can play as centre forwards? It's one of the points I really drove home in the video of Kolo Muani when he's linked at Arsenal. I said, right now, Arsenal doesn't need a Kolo Muani. Arsenal needs a player to compete with Bukayo Saka and a player to obviously compete with Martin Odegaard. You saw to it that when Martin Odegaard was away, Aston really looked bad in the final third. The creativity was low, and you saw to it that when he came on when they're playing against Chelsea, you saw to it that he really had to find that far boss dinking pass to really release a player called Martinelli to obviously put Arsenal ahead, meaning that if he can do against Chelsea, one of the most organized teams defensively, then he can do it against other teams. So even for Saka, when Saka's been away, Arsenal has been really struggling a little bit to create chances and obviously hits. That's why you see to it that in the previously concluded international break, has even Arsenal gone ahead obviously win a game, because they lost to Bournemouth 2-0, they drew with Liverpool 2-2, they lost to Newcastle 1-0, and they drew with Chelsea 1-1. They never collected 3 points in any of the 3 Premier League games they went ahead to play. You get? It shows you the levels at which we are really undermining these players that Arsenal should be bringing in. And for Arda, it's a move in the right direction. 1, Arsenal need Arda. I've been explaining that. Now, are Real Madrid willing to sell? I tell you, or loan a player. I think they are willing to obviously loan him to the club of Arsenal, because Arsenal has a very good relationship with Real Madrid. They sold, first and foremost, it was Arsenal selling Anelka to Real Madrid. Then later, Real Madrid reciprocated the love to Arsenal by doing the following. 1, Martin Ozil, who was sold to Arsenal from Real Madrid. Ceballos, loaned to Arsenal from Real Madrid. There was Julio Baptista, loaned from Real Madrid to Arsenal. The latest acquisition has been Martin Odegaard, first loaned to Arsenal and then sold to Arsenal on a permanent for like 30+ million pounds. You understand? So the relationship between Arsenal and Real Madrid is there. And if at all I'm Arda, if I'm really given assurance by the manager of Arsenal that he's really going to be playing him, then I obviously go ahead and obviously show up. But he has to be really keen, because we've gotten to know that when Arsenal is having Bukayo Saka cannot be benched. So Arda has to make a very beautiful decision. But Arsenal are looking out to getting this player, I don't think on a permanent. I think it might be a loan, and see to it that he plays the last 6 months of the season at Arsenal and do the needful. But the beauty of Arda is he can also play as a central attacking midfielder. And you've gone ahead to see him do this role for the Turkish national team. He can play centrally and he can play wide. So I think Arteta and the board of Arsenal have come to understand that they need a player like Arda. That is it. They've come to understand that they need a player like Arda. And in the due course of obviously needing a player like Arda, they have to obviously come up with a decision on really convincing Real Madrid to get them this player. But for Arda, I don't think that even this season is really going to be getting enough playing time, because when Toni Kroos left, we got to understand that maybe Arda would get some time in as a central midfielder, but it never came to pass. On the right attacking side of the midfield, they're having Rodrigo, who plays there most of the time. But even when Rodrigo has been away, the manager has not gone ahead obviously trust Arda to obviously play into that position, because when you look at Real Madrid, even when they're playing Barcelona, in that game where they went ahead obviously lose by 4-0, Arda never made it to the starting 11. They had to put Bellingham on the pitch, Valverde on the pitch, Tchouaméni, Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe. Now, and by this time, Rodrigo was away. Now, when Rodrigo returns, you don't expect anything like Arda getting ample playing time. And Arda hasn't gone ahead obviously find himself really do the need for Real Madrid this season, and I think he's pushing to obviously leave the side of Real Madrid. He has played 8 games this season out of the 11 they've gone ahead to play, but I think he has played most of those coming off the bench. So I don't know how they're really going to deal with this, but Arsenal is knocking on the door, and if at all they promise him ample playing time, I tell you his agent will be like, please Madrid, like you did it for Martin Odegaard, do it for this guy, because there are players that want to play every game for Real Madrid. Bellingham has to be on the pitch. Vinicius Jr. has to be in the pitch, Kylian Mbappe has to be on the pitch, and then Rodrigo has to be on the pitch, you know. So to really find a system to suit those players in, Arda has no chance to get ample playing time at the side of Real Madrid, because even when Rodrigo is really injured, he doesn't get a chance to play in the position he's supposed to be playing at. So we wait and see how that really pans out. But Arda is really one of those players that Arsenal are really interested in. But I love the player in him, and I believe that Arsenal can obviously do the needful. And I think for Real Madrid, it would be a very good business for them to do, loan him to Arsenal. If he really has some good 6 months, you can really sell him to Arsenal for some good amount of money. Remember, they bought him for like, was it 20 million euros? You know, and if you can see Arsenal pay close to 50 million euros for Arda during the summer transfer window of next year, that will be some good business being done in here. And they might also include what we call a buyback clause or a sell-on clause, you know, because they never did it with Martin Odegaard, and obviously Odegaard went ahead to obviously explode at Arsenal, and right now he's one of the best number 10s in the world. So that is Arda for you, and Arsenal are really looking in for players to obviously come, for a player who can really play in the Odegaard position and the Bukayo Saka position. So I think that is really something great, but the big question is, where does this leave Waneri? Because Waneri is also that kind of player that can play in both positions, and isn't the manager really trusting Waneri enough, and is like, Arda is playing for the Turkish national team, has been at Real Madrid, he's really ready to get to the first team of Arsenal. So we'll be waiting to see what Arsenal is going to be doing into the January transfer window, as very many people are really going to be linked to this side. Now, let's go to Aston Villa and see what Amadou Onana had to say. During the international break, he was really sent back to Aston Villa because his fitness levels didn't match up with the standards of the team, and they're like, you have an injury, go ahead and obviously deal with that slight injury, then you'll come back and we talk. You'll come back to us and really see ourselves discussing it later. Now, Onana has said, I can contribute a lot offensively. We've already seen that this season with my 3 goals at Aston Villa. Of course, scoring isn't immediately my priority as a defensive midfielder. I have other tasks, but scoring for the Red Devils would be nice. Now, he's telling us the kind of job or task that the manager of Aston Villa has always gone ahead to obviously give him, and he's like, his first job is to obviously shield the back four. That's what he's really telling us, and we all know to it that he's a very good box-to-box midfielder, but the way they play that midfield at Aston Villa obviously gives him that allowance to see to it that he obviously gets into that mix. For example, if he's playing with Yuri Tielemans, I think Yuri Tielemans is the man that really makes those late runs. And because Amadou Onana has a very big engine, he obviously says, all right, let me try to go further and I can track back early enough. Now, because they're really having a less mobile player in Tielemans. Tielemans always plays behind this guy because this guy is fast, can easily really track back and obviously regain possession and really all regain his position. So I think he has 3 goals this season, and we all believe that he's really doing a very beautiful job at the side of Aston Villa. And I think a season from like in the summer transfer window of 2026, he's going to be one of those players that is going to be hugely looked at to obviously be sold, because he has all what it takes to obviously get into the big teams, because he's that good. He has all the attributes. I'm always going to obviously talk about him as to why I wanted him at Manchester United, a team that I supported, and I would wish top teams, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, really look out for a player like him, because he is a modern midfielder. You know, his versatility obviously paves way for him to obviously go out into any team. Now, we are waiting to see what is really going to be the case like for him when he really returns to Aston Villa what have the physios gone ahead to really identify as the problem that is really causing him these injuries. Now, let's go to France. This story was broken like a week back about Olympique Lyonnais, that they've been handed a provisional League 2 relegation. It also includes a transfer ban due to their financial situation. Now, the financial situation of Olympique Lyon is really alarming. And if you've been following the League of France, because of the financial fair play or financial situations, we've gone ahead to see a side of Bordeaux really thrown to the 4th division, And if at all you know Bordeaux, a Uganda known as Travis Mutiawa, who scored a beaut as we were really beating a side known as Congo Brazzaville, plays from. They've just signed him. So he's really doing his job there. Now for Olympique Lyon, looks like for them, they're really going to be thrown into the 2nd division because of them not living up to the expectation as far as the rules really say. So they are still playing in the league, and if at all this season comes to an end when they haven't gone ahead obviously rectify their financial situations or financial problems, I tell you what, they'll be thrown to the dogs and they will be relegated, and a transfer ban will be obviously be put onto that. But it's not only the team in the French League One that is really going through those problems, and we might see very many teams really thrown to the 2nd division, and very many teams who are really having good financial positions do the needful. That's why you saw to it that teams like Lille had to sell a player like Lenny Yoro for 60 million euros to see to it that they obviously find themselves in a position of obviously clearing up the financial messes. PSG had to sell Kylian Mbappe. Sorry, they had to re-let Kylian Mbappe go, but on the 150 million euros, there is amount of money that Kylian Mbappe has to obviously pay to the side of PSG. And we know to it that he was earning close to 1 million, is it 1 million euro per week? So if they really get rid of him, though they never wanted to let him go, but it was a blessing disguise. They had to sell Manuel Ugarte for 60 million euros to Manchester United. They had to offload Renato Sanchez, to be part of the deal that brought João Neves to the side of PSG. So very many teams there are really trying to do business. Monaco never wanted to lose Youssouf Fofana on a free, and they had to obviously get in close to 30 million euros for his transfer to AC Milan. And many other teams in France have been selling off their players because they don't want to obviously find themselves in the situation that Olympique Lyonnais is in. So we wait to see what situation Olympique Lyonnais is really going to be in, but I want to let you know that this is the Rokani Media Football, and I'm calling in for your reactions onto Arda Guler to Arsenal interest back on the ladder, all back on the cards in the January transfer window. Then, what do you make about Amadou Onana and what he's going to hate to say that he really feels like he's playing better offensively, but he knows to it that his primary role at Villa is to shield the back four. If you're Unai Emery, where do you think you could best feed this guy? And remember, Bouba Kamara is not yet back. And when Bouba Kamara returns, I think this is when Amadou Onana is really going to enjoy himself a lot, because Bouba Kamara can play as a CDM, shield that back four, and I think this guy will obviously have the best of the best in his movements, because that's what he wants. Offensively, he's really deadly. But right now, in the absence of Bouba Kamara, he should obviously do that. But him and I've forgotten the name of the guy who have been really out for long, I think they are back, and the manager is really going to be integrating them into the team. And then lastly, what do you make about the situation of French teams, especially Olympique Lyonnais, who, if they don't really rectify their financial situation before 30th June, they are really going to find themselves relegated, you know? And for Arsenal, when you talk about that team, you know who plays there? It's Lacazette, a former Gunner, is playing from that side. We are powered by Mono Gadgets. Thank you for obviously watching in through. Rokani David remains my name. I'm out. Bye-bye.